You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? And okay, oh my gosh, I am beyond excited to get today's show starting. We have Tommy Mello on. Tommy, if you don't know, went from 50,000 in debt, going all the way to he's on track to hit a $300 million year this year. Unbelievable success story. You've seen him everywhere at the Home Service Freedom, the Garage Door Freedom, where he's got books, he's got podcasts, he's everywhere. We're going to have a really engaging conversation. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. Some of the things he's done successful, some of the things that didn't go as smoothly that he had to learn from, things about how he hires people, looks for culture, even things about how he feels about his legacy as he's building everything he is. So I'm just going to shut up because there's so many good things in here. But yeah, let's get going with Tommy Mello. All right, Tommy, I have been looking forward to getting you on the show for months. And so glad we could finally make this work. But for those who maybe are hiding under a rock or don't see you everywhere you go, because you are everywhere, do you mind, who are you? What do you do? And let's just go there. Can we start?
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here. Really excited about being on this show. Tommy Mello, my main company, A1 Garage Door Service. Started in 2007. Made every mistake you could think of. I mean, I didn't have a price book, didn't really have a great CRM. Service Titan, my sixth CRM. Didn't really know much about leadership. Learned a lot about marketing over the years. We're going to do close to 300 million this year. Did over 200 last year. We're in 22 states, about 40 markets, and I pride myself more on the revenue or the profit is at 23 point that. So
23
a lot of
what?
people 23 and a half.
That's crazy, dude.
So a lot of people talk a lot about revenue when they get into a room, and I've always said revenue is for vanity, profits for sanity.
100%.
Big fan of Service Titan. My podcast is called The Home Service Expert, and we're helping a lot of businesses with home service freedom. We got our Freedom event, and we had about 1,000 people in Orlando, just had a few hundred people in town, did shop tours. The goal is just everyone needs help. Everyone needs accountability. Everybody needs a mentor. I've got a lot of mentors. One of the books behind me is a 7-power contractor, Al Levy. Tell me about manual systems, standard operating.
That dude is a beast.
Yeah, so, I'm pretty modest. I've stayed humble. A lot of success, but I'm still learning every day. I'm a student for life. And I'm an open book.
Well, I think, I feel like obviously you've been making more and more of a name for yourself just outside of your lane, right? Outside of like, hey, you do A1 Garage. And as the businesses you acquired and the events you've been sponsoring and putting on, and you've done incredible work. So at this point, I feel like you're just about damn near anywhere people would look in any sort of home service space. And I think everyone will be able to look at you, talk about your name, talk about your story, and talk about the success. I think those are things that everyone is probably aware of, like knowing that you went from like 50K in debt to at this point you're on a track to hit 300 million top line this year, which is nuts. Or assume that's top line, or is that bottom line?
No, it's not bottom line. We want to grow 15% organically, 15% through acquisitions. We've got big goals and we've got Tommy goals.
Yeah.
And so I'm really commandeering the recruiting of companies to partner with on the corporate development side. And I can tell you the success in each market is a great technician, a great leader in that market. It's not a market. The managers count. The coaches are important. But you need good players on the field. And that's really, we're going to take a lot of market share this year. And if the economy turns really bad, it's a buyer's market. It's a huge opportunity. If it turns really good, it's a great opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't care if I think about that. Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm going to make I'm going to turn lemons into lemonade wherever I go. And Yeah, we're going to do some pretty big numbers. The goal is to get over 100 million of EBITDA by the end of 2025 in that fiscal year. 110 million.
You will 100% hit that. There's like zero doubt in my body. And I think like if anyone reads your books, listen to you speak, listen to any podcasts you're on, because you've been on a ton of them, you always put a big emphasis on like A players nurturing a strong company culture. And it's interesting for you to say like, hey, having the guys on the ground, like that's a really important part. Do you mind talking a little bit more about like what you've learned as you've gone into different markets, different states, like scaling out a large operation like that? What things do you feel like are most important to you when you are identifying, vetting, recruiting, and retaining high performing A players?
Yeah, most companies I meet, 99% of their focus, literally, on CSRs, dispatchers, like they're so worried about getting leads. I need more leads. I need more leads. They don't realize their booking rate's garbage. Their conversion rate is crap. Their average ticket stop's where it's supposed to be. And so I look at an A-plus player, somebody that's like an athlete, somebody that was good at karate, somebody that practiced every day and they became infatuated with something. They kept score. They practiced. When I played football, we did 5 2-a-day practices to play one game.
That's
but
crazy.
in business, we're supposed to do a ride-along for 2 weeks, and that's the end of training forever.
Yeah.
So I literally spend 50% of my brain's capacity figuring out how to get great candidates. Andy Elliott's a good buddy of mine. I got him promoting our recruiting events. The people that follow him, he's very controversial. He likes people that work out and get in shape and that take care of themselves, that look you in the eyes when they talk, that want to win. So he's got almost like a cult following. So I'm definitely giving him great money to help. I'm going after D1 athletes. I'm going after people that like to win, that look me in the eyes, that smile a lot, that tell a great story.
Yeah.
I train. I'll give you the skills of the garage. I want zero. I want no experience. I don't even care if you're good with tools. And that's kind of the secret sauce. I'm double downing on my people. I want A-plus players. If you look at the disparity between a top performer and a bottom one, and you were able to stack the deck up top, your company would quadruple overnight. The profit margin would go from 7% to 30%. My top guy does so much more than the rest of the company. My top 10% do more than the bottom 30% combined.
That's
so
crazy.
When you look at this, you got to be thinking top grading, right sizing, and success leaves clues, man. Listen, if you don't have a funnel of great applicants coming in, if you're not branded correctly, I'll say we got kick charged 4 years ago by Dan Antonelli.
Yep, Dan is the man.
If you're not branded correctly in your discount garage doors and you got a shitty wrap on your truck, you're not going to attract the talent you need.
Right.
Like people don't even understand that. They're like, oh my gosh, 20, 25 grand. I'm like, you're spending that on Google. You're literally working 10 times harder to recruit people. There's no culture here. And when you pull up in the truck, your average ticket and conversion rate suck because you look like crap.
Yeah.
You're named wrong. Your brand. It's like walking into a lawyer that charges $1,500 an hour wearing jeans, and his secretary walks out and hands you a Pepsi and says, I'm the best. Or you walk into a palace and the lawyer has all these accolades and says, I've never lost a case. And he's dressed the part. And all of a sudden he says $1,500 and you're like, wow, that's a bargain. I'm going to win.
Yeah.
But you got to look the part. If you're going to charge the price, if you're going to recruit correctly, if you're going to get the recognition in the marketplace, you got to be branded correctly. And people miss that. And that attracts talent. The reason I mention that is because people line up. Our websites look like our yard signs, look like the inside of our building, looks like our mailers, looks like our vehicles. And it's all symmetrical. It all resonates. The water bottles we hand out, the things we do, the pens, they're all on color point. Like every single aspect, the billboards, the radio ads, everything's on point to say A1 from day one, the garage door company that you can trust. And what we're known for is we're going to treat you like mom. My mom worked 7 jobs when I was 7 years old when my mom and dad got a divorce. My goal is to make sure we're treating you like my mom. And I love my mom more than anything. We're going to give you great service. I'm going to do what's right.
So I'm actually curious about that. How is it that you've learned to teach your team to do what's right? Because I think to some of the point you're making, right? A lot of guys can focus on the superficial. They can focus on the things that makes them feel good because it gives them the immediate shot in the arm. But it's really difficult to instill a culture of people who give a damn, who care about their customer, or like you do your mom. What have you found is successful in either identifying those traits or creating those cultural traits that you can say, hey, everyone on my team, regardless of who gets dispatched in which state, they're going to take great care of that particular customer, just like you would your mom?
So there's a lot of checks and balances. The average job we go to, there's 40 pictures and 2 videos taken per customer. We weigh every door before we'll even mention springs. We literally have the evidence. So if we're at your grandma's house and the grandson or the son calls and says, you took advantage of my mom, we've got all the pictures, everything to back up why the part needed to be replaced. We've got checks and balances. The manuals were designed, and Al Levy, if you haven't read the 7 Power Contractor, the fundamentals, I gave Al several $100,000 to work with me by setting up manuals, understanding when to ask for PTO, understanding how to get a sick day, understanding what happens if your truck breaks down, whatever it might be, it's all in my manuals. So the systems, the checklists, the pictures, the checks and balances, we use a company called Rilla Voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I could hear every single phone call. Here's something interesting. This is off topic, but they've looked and listened to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of sales calls. What they found is there's a few things that make an exceptional technician. Number 1, they spend more time. Number 2, they talk 20% less than the client. Number 3, a good producer asks 5 open-end questions. A top producer asks 25 open-end questions. Here's what's interesting. About an hour and 30 minutes, top producers, they give the price in financial terms as a monthly figure. And then 10 minutes after, they tell the company story. Bottom producers tell the company story, then they give the financial terms. And it happens 45 minutes after.
Interesting.
Success leaves clues. The data. I'm a data scientist. I live and breathe off of KPIs and financial data. I've got more data and more reports being generated now than probably Fortune 500 companies. It sounds ridiculous, but I could almost – my payroll's within 2% each week. Like, it's crazy what we've been able to do with this company. And it's a formula. Everything I do is math. So I've got the checks and balances. I can listen to their phone calls. I can see how they're treating people. I can make sure we're giving options instead of ultimatums where you can only say yes or no. I'm going to go over my options with you, and then you can pick one that you like. How does that sound? Hopefully you say yes. That sounds great. You're obligated to pick one. And I'm shaking my head going, and then you can pick one you like. How does that sound? And you give options. I've got the economical option for you. We can kick the can down the road and fix what's wrong today. Or we could we could take away the builder grade, or we could do top of the line. I never say the most expensive or the cheapest. Words matter. 55% of what I do is body language. I can walk into a room and see if a girl's interested in me. 37% is tonality, right? Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I am so sorry to hear that. Empathy, all these little voice inflections. And then the words we use are super important. I never say, do you need financing? I say, hey, did you hear about our promotions? Did you want to use your money today or did you want to use ours? Inflation's through the roof. Gas prices are up. I mean, our smart consumers decided a long time ago that they were going to use our money. And we study psychology, sales, and we've got a lot of coaches. I'm going to invest over $1 million into my personal coaching this year, to me getting help.
So I am curious about that too, because obviously running any business of any size can be just exhausting. It could take a toll on your family, on your relationships, on your mental health, on your body. And you are doing this at a scale that very few people will experience. What have you found is helpful and necessary for you to take care of your mental health, to give you work-life balance, to make you show up in the best way everywhere you go?
Yeah, so there's several people that have impacted my life in the last 6 months. Andy Elliott was one of them. My cousin Rachel, my cousin Michael, Aaron Gaynor, Travis Ringy. Is I realized if I'm not taking care of myself, and people find time to watch the news or watch their favorite Netflix show. They make time to do what they do, but they say, I'm too busy to work out. I'm too busy to eat healthy. I'm the type of guy that needs accountability and I need structure. I need the trainer to show up to me. I'm hiring a full-time chef because I just want healthy food that tastes good when I want. I want somebody that's feeding me the amount of macros and calories I should have.
It also takes decisions away from you. Like, it's one less thing for it to decide. You have someone responsible for doing that for you. Like, I can imagine it takes a lot off your mind.
without sounding cocky, I've done very well. And to not invest, some people hate going to the doctor. I hated going to the doctor. I don't even want to know what's wrong. If it's not bothering me to the point, but preventative maintenance, 70% of people that find cancer early resolve it. And I think the same thing exists in business. You don't want to look at your financials because you're afraid. You don't want to go to the doctor, look at the financials and the KPIs. As long as you got enough money in your account to keep running, you're good. And going back to the whole, I want to look in the mirror and be proud of myself. I don't want to be embarrassed. There was a time I would never take off my shirt. And I'm not six-packed up, but I will be. And I'm lifting more weight than I've lifted in my whole life, and I've worked out a long time. I mean, I'm putting up 300 for reps of 10.
Good for you, man. That's crazy.
So I'm getting bulky, and then I'm going to cut the weight for the summer. And I just want to be able to say, I'm the baddest ass dude that ever walked. When I walk in a room, I want to say, I respect myself. I'll make eye contact. My teeth are brushed. They're white. They're flossed. The dentist take care of them. Some people need help just with their smile. And all of a sudden they smile again. Their numbers double. My job is to give people security to believe when they look in the mirror, they are worth more. They deserve more. They're worth everything. Those dreams they had, they're all possible. My job is to get them to dream bigger and give them a path to hit the dream. And that's done with a personal budget with KPIs that says if your conversion rate, your average ticket, your service agreements, your recall rate, the customer satisfaction score, every single one of my guys got a scorecard. They know where they're at any given moment of any day. Custom software we built in a service type. And people care about the leaderboard. You want to find out the top guy? You could just message him through the app, find out what he's doing. And if he's the number one guy at average tickets or service to sales, just call him up. We'll get him. And I get these guys on meetings, morning mojo calls, Thursday meetings. I do recordings. Success leaves clues. I study the top guys. So many people focus on the bottom. I focus on the top and seeing how far they could go. And then I report back to everybody what they're doing. And I just think you should take care of yourself and you should eat healthy. It's not always easy. But having the trainer show up to me, having somebody, I have protein shakes, all pre-made, ready to go in my fridge in my office. Just make it easy. Yeah. Everybody's got to overcomplicate things. I mean, there's a way to eat out at Wendy's every day and still be healthy. So you just got to figure out how. I don't have all the answers, but I could pay somebody good money to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if you've read the book. There's a book, Who Not How, that I read several years ago that for me was
Ben Hardy, Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, such a great novel approach of you don't have to figure out how to do the thing. You just have to have a who that can figure out to do the thing. And regardless of where you are in your scale of your business, there's a who you can assign. And I'm also surprised too. A lot of things you mentioned have to do with leveraging tech enabling your team, allowing this sort of tech innovation, AI sort of enabled call by call review. How is it that you keep up with new and emerging tech, testing it, deploying it as you continue to scale? How does that work?
It's weird because of my podcast, because I'm connected, because I have Ishmael Valdez, Chris Yano, Chad Peterman, Aaron Gaynor. These guys are all in a text group. We're always exploring and testing new things and sharing best practices. I had a guy come into one of my events. The name of the company's Chirp.
Yeah. Ryan Finn.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this company and I go, yeah, but it won't work for us. We got way too complicated. And my CTO talked to them and he said, if you could do this stuff, we'll sign up. So it took him 90 days to build the code of what we needed because we're complicated. We're in a lot of markets. And then I talked to my buddy with a chimney company using Chirp. And he's like, I'm recovering 50% of my lost calls with this video that I'm sending to every customer that doesn't book. And then I talked to a company using it on Rehash. Then I figured out we've got 3 main warranty calls that we get. A dry run cost us $185 for customer courtesy. We had 700 last month. By letting the customer know the 3 top warranty calls on how to fix it themselves, that's going to cut. That alone makes me more money than anything. Because if I get 20% of my Rehash leads, there's millions and millions of dollars sitting there per month.
Yeah.
The non-booked calls, millions of dollars. The dry runs I make. Training a customer how to program MyQ in their LiftMaster Chamberlain unit is a pain in the ass. Every time I sell a unit, it sends them a how-to video of how to program it. I don't have to deal with it. It's the unfair advantage. And now I'm really close to Ryan. He's letting us develop our own stuff for A1, and I'm endorsing it. Like Chirp, Real Voice, Service Titan. Like we are a technology company that happens to do garage doors.
Yeah, and I think it's so smart how you do that. And I feel like I don't want to pick on the industry, but a lot of the trades tend to be first adopters of tech, or at least be fearful at first glance because it involves disrupting everything they knew. So it makes sense. And I'm also curious because it's easy from the outside to look in and go like, man, everything you've done is gold, right? Your branding's solid, your processes are solid, your sales practices are solid, like you got a great platform, blah blah blah. Like those are all impressive by any count. But I'm curious, like, do you mind sharing any about the setbacks and the failures you've had that you've had to learn from to get through?
18 years doing the same thing, focusing on one business,
Mm.
wearing blinders. People want to see the shit I've been through, the people that have stole from me, the cars that have flipped, the people that have died while working for me. You want to know the pain? You can see my big house, the great company I have, but it's come through tenacity, hard work, discipline, consistency. I had people stealing toilet paper. I had the worst brand out there. I had fake reviews driven hundreds per day to every single one of my markets. I've had Google go down for a month. I've had the worst of the worst things happen. My workers' comp, my EMOD score went through the roof because I wasn't training safety. I've had people show up with their own tools with a glue gun and a hammer and come in for work and not know. Then I had to buy all the tools. I've had trainers that recruited people away from me and quit and started their own business. It's not fun. It's not all roses and daisies. But if you put your mind, as an entrepreneur, we have ADHD. We're attacked with 10 different, I don't care who you are. You've got to have ADHD. You got to be able to pivot and handle situations. The problem that most owners have is that the company starts making money. And then what do the husband and wife say? We deserve a Harley. We deserve a second house.
Oh, yeah.
We deserve this, that.
I need that boat.
You don't deserve that. You deserve to put it back into the company. You deserve to let that money work harder for the asset that's making you the money. You see a buddy making a lot of money flipping houses on Airbnbs and VRBOs. You see a guy that starts a restaurant. All of a sudden, that hard work and discipline starts to divest. And then you fail at real estate because you don't have time. It's not your money machine. It takes a lot of discipline, grit, hard work, and wearing blinders. You're 3 feet from gold. You're one hire away. You're one process. Turn the knob. But yet so many people, they're like, oh, I could do that. Most entrepreneurs could do a lot of things if they have time, energy, and focus. But you can't have I filled up this so big that A1 is bursting that now I could hire the resources for any companies. I could hire top down. When I was smaller, I had to hire, what's the first thing is an EA. Handle all my email, buy back my time. I should never be doing minimum wage activities. Most company owners, they're still doing shit they should never be doing.
100%.
What needs to be done by me, what could be delegated? And like I said, without Al Levy, the 7-power contractor, if I hadn't met him 6 years ago, my life I would not. Luckily, I've had some great mentors, some very poor mentors. Al is like my right hand. Like he saved my life. Like he saved my business. I was doing 17 million when I found him, not keeping much of that. And after that, he's the one that got me hooked up with Dan Antonelli. He's the one that taught me to redo my warehouse to make it hard for me to have access. He's the one that told me about the triangle of communication. He's the one that helped me write my first 10 manuals. He's the one that taught me how to delegate properly. And I took everything he had and I poured steroids into it. I literally built technology around it. And there's several people. Dan Antonelli, I have a lot to thank for. Service Titan, RN Vi let me in, the first company outside of HVAC, plumbing, electrical. And I begged and pleaded. 10 people told me no. Got a hold of R on LinkedIn. He said, I'm going to take a shot on you. I'm going to roll the dice. I don't know why I'm doing this. And I think it was a good investment for them. I owe them more than I ever expect them to owe me. I mean, without Service Titan, I wouldn't be in 22 states right now. So I had a lot of things go right. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to us. My dad almost died. I don't wish COVID upon anybody, but we were deemed essential. And every company, nail salons, bowling alleys, restaurants, hotels, they shut down.
Yeah.
We stayed busy. All of a sudden, PE started to look at us and say, these guys are pretty smart. We should probably invest. They're essential. So timing had a lot to do with my success too. If I didn't come across a few books like the E-Myth and How to Win Friends and Influence People and Napoleon Hill. All these books. If I didn't start a podcast, if I didn't meet the mentors when I did, I just wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I'm a student, like I said, for life.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things when I think about you that stands out. Like, to your point, there is a certain amount of luck that goes into what anyone would consider like success or failure, right? Some of it's just that's the hand you've been dealt. But there's a whole lot of your just one's ability to always be improving, to always be learning, to always be implementing and changing. And you, everything I've ever seen and known about you is that that's something you are. You're hungry to always be improving. And I'm also curious. This is a slight change of topic, but I'm curious because considering you're almost in half of the United States at this point, which is a crazy sentence that I've never said in my life. How do you think about engaging those local markets, those communities, social responsibility in those areas? So you is that something you're mindful of as you're trying to scale and expand and penetrate new markets, or like what role does that have, if any?
Yeah, so getting involved, a lot of people go after philanthropy and getting involved in the community for the wrong reasons. And they do that because they're trying to get a press release. They're trying to get on the news. There's really no part of them that wants to do good. No godly, no Jesus, whatever religion you are, it's all selfish reasons. And I just tell most owners, before you invest in a 501(c) and give to the hungry children in Africa, which is a great cause, what about the mother that's driving to work that works for you with bald tires? What about the family that doesn't have a Thanksgiving dinner? What about the wife and husband struggling that haven't had a date night in 3 months because they can't afford a babysitter? I'm a big fan of looking in your own backyard before you decide to be this big old philanthropist to get on the news.
Yeah.
I do. We painted the YMCA at several locations. We feed the hungry children. I've got a thing called TommyCares.org for my own company that we give out $22,000 a month to people that really need it, that just are fair. They're dealt an unfair hand. Everybody struggles at some point. I know me and my mom did. And the church helped us out a lot. So I'm all about helping people out, investing in your people. I'm all about helping out the communities. We give Wounded Warriors a lot of garage doors. It's something where I want to get deep into, but I didn't buy a new truck till every one of my technicians had a new truck. I'm on my second new truck, but everyone got a new one before I did. I think leaders eat last. And this sounds really good. It sounds great to say on a podcast, but most people on these things, they don't practice what they preach. They're not real. They say what sounds good. There's a lot of mentors out there that never made it in the real world that aren't in the fight anymore because they couldn't handle it. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. So they did. And now they want to teach people in the kitchen.
Well, yeah, it's the whole those who can do and those who can't coach sort of thing, right?
Yeah, those who can't make it in the real world teach.
Yeah.
And it sounds great. Hey, if you're really good at something like Al Levy, he had a lot of success in business, but nowhere near what he had as his mentorship. And so there are real good people out there. I'm not knocking everybody. But I think I took what Al had and I definitely added on to it. He considers me one of his top 2 students he's ever worked with. And that's saying a lot because he's 70, been doing this last 40 years. And I just, starting a podcast was a huge deal because I started one. Home Service Expert was started a long time ago. That's how I met Al Levy. So people came on the podcast. It was early for podcasts, and I met a lot of people. And, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, he was right in the studio recently, and he said, Tommy, people want to hire me, but they balk at my price. They hire me because they want to sell more. They want to grow their best practices, whatever it is. And yet they don't want to pay. And he goes, if people learn to invest themselves and buy how they want to be bought from, then everything changes. It builds character. It shows that you're worth the investment. And I see a lot of people out there, they won't spend a dime, but they expect to charge $1. And he's so right about this.
Yeah.
To haggle with a person that's going to teach you, like you might not get your money's worth, but most of the time it's because you didn't apply yourself. You didn't show up to the meetings. You didn't do the homework. And then you wonder, you think about the Home Service Freedom Group. It's $1,500 a month for 12 months and it's ongoing. So $18,000 a year. We help with every facet of the business from marketing to recruiting to branding to your CRM. minimum wage for a fast food restaurant in California is $20 an hour. It's turning into 20. So you're paying roughly on a 40-hour work week with FICA, Medicare, Social Security, about $52,000 a year. We're charging a third of that to help you run your business, turn a couple dials. And people are like, oh man, $1,500 a month. I'm like, if we save 2 calls, like people look at things like a cost. And I just think people, and I'm not saying there's Nexstar, there's all kinds of, there's Praxis, there's really great companies out there that do this. But selfishly, I think we care more. I love Julian. I love what Jack Tester. I love these guys, but I just think we've got a lot of experience and we're very good at what we do. And the biggest thing is we care. We want to see success. I don't want to work with companies that are high maintenance that want us to come run their companies. Can't do that for $18,000 a year. And there's zero money made from me by this thing. For me, it's an opportunity to invest in companies that are easy, lucrative, and fun. I'm looking at it as an incubator for companies that I like, that show up, that are good, that care. So selfishly, at the end of it, if I find 2 out of 100 companies to put money into, great.
But then those other 98 still win. Like they still have access to the information to deploy on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of reminds me. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It kind of reminds me of Alex Hermosi, which if you're watching or listening right now, like really successful business guy in the health and fitness space primarily. Got a lot into M&A recently, but one of the things that he did was Facebook ads was a big part of his lead acquisition process. He would run Facebook ads in every market. He would have a gym. And at some point he's realizing, man, I'm paying all these different companies, all these different vendors, whatever it costs. And he was kind of balking at that. So he kind of did almost what you did with Al, and probably honestly, even with Dan to a certain degree, of saying, hey, I'm going to find the person who's the very, very best at what they do. I'm going to pay them a crap ton of money and I'm going to learn everything that they know. And I'm going to level up my game so that I now have more control over those levers. I have the ability to implement these things faster, better, smarter. And he credits like hiring knowledge quickly and absorbing it fast as like one of his keys to his success. And it's interesting because there's parts of that it seems like you do also.
Yeah, acquisitions.com,
Yeah.
100 million offer. Really great book. I recommend people follow him. I like him a lot.
He's good.
He blew up fast. I think the guy, Andy Elliott's keeping up with his growth. Andy's adding 200,000 people a month.
Is that right? That's crazy.
I've 200,000 people on each social media platform. I've never had to go get the work. We book 16,000 incoming leads a month. I'm a good marketer. I'm good at closing calls. These guys are great at going and hunting. Mm-hmm. They create demand where it doesn't exist. And so I'm learning a lot. And if you match up with what I know, with what some of these guys know, it's unstoppable. It's a train that can't be stopped. Because right now I sell to customers that can't get out of their garage. If I could build demand where it doesn't exist, I'm very envious of what they've created. I like, not the word, not jealousy or envy, but it's like I'm impressed and I want to learn it. Right?
Sure.
And so this year I'm literally back to the students, back to the books, understanding how to do those things. Because, I've got 100,000 on social media and we do okay. And my podcast is number 13 in the country for business, which is pretty great. It fluctuates anywhere from 10 to 20 in the country on Apple. And I'm trying to give as much value as possible. What's so cool about the podcast I do is I'm craving answers. So people love listening, going, what's Tommy going to ask that's going to help his business that I should be looking at? So I'm having a lot of fun with it, but I'm telling you, I watch. I was at Andy Elliott's place yesterday. He's got 60 people doing outbound calls on every messenger. One new like comes in, one new person's following. They're reaching out to that person with a low offer to get them in the funnel or whatever you want to call it. And it's so damn impressive. And I'm like, man, maybe I'm just lazy because it all comes to me. Like, people want to do business. I let them knock on my door.
It is laughable that you call yourself lazy. Like, outside looking in, man, like that is the most ironic, hilarious thing I've heard in a long time. But I hear the point you're making, right? Like, all these guys are finding new ways to extract more value for the market, for themselves, like help everyone. And you're like, that makes sense.
Well, I've never had to really try as hard. I'm Tommy. I'm Tommy Mello. I'm not Alex Hermosi. I'm not, I'm not Jeremy Miner. I'm not any of these guys. And I'm going to be me. You know, we did a deal with private equity a little over a year ago, and a lot of zeros hit my account, lots and lots. And I remember calling my guy at Goldman Sachs going, there's no way I could ever spend this much money. And I had my buddy over last night, and he said, he's got a couple of friends that are billionaires, and they were talking. And he said, once somebody gets 30 million plus, they're never the same. And he goes, Tommy, you haven't changed a bit. You're still so humble. You're still hungry. Like, what is it in you that what's ticking inside of you? And I said, I don't know. I said, what made Tiger Woods win 4 tournaments in 1 year, the majors, and continue to keep playing hard? I said, it's just my DNA. I enjoy what I do. I have fun on Mondays, which most people can't say. So I hope I never change. If I do, I want you to find me at the next event we're at or when you come to visit Phoenix, and I want you to kidney punch me because I want to stay humble. I want to keep this. I'm here to help people. I was a kid that needed help, and luckily I had great coaches and mentors around me to help me. I've had good tutors in my life. I've always been the first guy to ask for help, and I don't want to ever turn my back on somebody, become too famous or rich to make time for the guy that I was.
So I'm curious, and this is slightly outside the lane of business, but it seems relevant. So clearly you're driven, like there's no doubt about that, and you're smart and thoughtful, and you attract the right people, and you're going to hit that $1 billion top line goal. Like that's just going to happen. But fast forward beyond all that, fast forward beyond the KPIs and all the awards and all the shows. When you look back, like, not to sound dark and morbid, but like at the end of your life, when your family tells stories about you after you're gone, like what do you hope is the legacy that you leave behind?
So I've got a file I've been working on, and there's personal, physical, family, mental, financial, spiritual, career. And I've got all these outcomes when I'm 70 to look back and say, where did I travel? Where did I live? Who did I spend my time with? What exact am I manifesting? What exactly? Like to the T. Like to know exactly what my life looked like, where I spent my time, how much I went to church, how much I invested in my community, how much what I eat, what my daily routines are. And by being very specific in this document, I'm basically manifesting what my life looks like. And it's hard to reflect for a guy like me. I'm looking 10 years into the future.
Sure. Yeah.
So I got to slow down, and I got to take time to reflect, and I got to take time to think. I got to take time to thank God. And I will pay it up to him because I know for a fact I'm here. He put me here. He's got big plans, and he'll take it away just as quick as he gave it to me. So he said, make sure to point up to me and remind people where this came from. And I'm a big fan of Jesus Christ, JC. So, I'm not perfect. I tell people I'm a man with got a lot of work to do on me, but I am trying. And, making more time on my schedule, buying back my time is the first step. And, I want people to say, just by shaking Tommy's hand, I was a better person. He kept his word. He never had to turn around and look back to wonder who he screwed over. He made mistakes, but he always made it right. He cared more than anybody. And to be around him was a pleasure because he seemed like he was a happy guy. When we got around him, we smiled more. It was never depressing, never felt derogatory comments, never felt like you're less of a person. He always made us feel welcome. And just by knowing him, we're a better person for it. That's what I'd like them to say. And I want them to have fireworks, not wear black, and celebrate my life because I'm in a better spot. And make sure it's outside because I don't want some boring church. I want definitely prayers. You can cremate me, you can bury me. I don't really care because I'm going to be in a better spot.
Yeah. It is truly remarkable to see the success that you're having through hard work, determination, like you're doing. And it's so cool to hear like that's how intentional you're thinking about like your own personal wake and legacy that you leave behind. It really does add a whole layer of dimension to you as more than just the business guru or the thought leader, like, but also just the human and the man who impacts normal people. If somebody, if they want to learn more about your podcast, I assume you want to point them to Apple, but if they want to talk about your book, if you want to talk about any of the home service freedom events or garage door freedom events, I'd love to give you a chance to kind of invite people to take a step in that direction if they haven't yet.
Yeah, I want to just point out one other thing while we were on this topic. Um, one of my buddies is super highly successful, and he says, "Tommy, do me a favor." He goes, "Don't meet your heroes."
Hmm.
I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "They're not who you think they are." He goes, "I met all my heroes." He goes, "Me and you, we work harder. We're more disciplined." He goes, "It's mostly a facade."
Hmm.
He goes, "Once you meet him, whether it's a movie star or a business accolades guy you look up to or woman," he goes, "they're just humans. We put them on this high pedestal. They're just humans." He goes, "Don't meet your heroes." He goes, "We are heroes." I mean, it was really interesting for me to hear that because I've met some people, some best-selling authors. I'm good friends with Dr. Ben Hardy.
Hmm.
And these are great people, by the way. But there's something to be said there. We hold these people up and we just think, do you know how much brain power goes into A1 outside of Tommy Mello? I could leave here for a month and it'll run
Yeah.
flawlessly. That's a real business. It's built to last, as Jim Collins would say. The people running this business, the people that have entered into my team, my coworkers, they are amazing people. I try to be the dumbest guy in the room. This business doesn't evolve around me. People ask me questions I don't have the answers to. I don't log into our payroll system. I don't know how to ask for PTO. I don't know how to do most of the stuff in the business anymore. And I pride myself that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Some people pride themselves on being everything for everybody and everything. Like, just I wanted people to understand that. And I'm just a human being. And when you meet me, I'm humble. I'm as humble as they come.
You're the most humble guy in the room. I love it.
Humble. So I've got a podcast, Home Service Expert. You just search it. Really getting next level people on there. I really want to deliver. Selfishly, I want. It's like it's a counseling session for me. I take a lot of notes and I go implement, which is very rare. People take notes and actually implement them. And I wrote the book Elevate, Build a Business Where Everybody Wins. Your dream has to be so big that you can fit everybody that works with you, their dream inside of it, because they need to set their dreams. They need to buy houses. They need to buy their dream.
That's good.
Go on vacations first class. So many people brag about, I charge less than you. How do you get away with charging those prices? I'm like, well, your top guy makes $50,000 a year, gets no PTO, drives a used truck, and he lives in an apartment. You pride yourself on shitting on your people so you can give your customers a good deal. And how do you sleep in?
That's something I love about like Travis Smith at Sky, because
Yeah.
they are very, very intentional about helping their employees, like one, understanding what their employees care about, what motivates them, what they want to build towards, and then helping them actually do it. It is the coolest thing that so few companies do, and I think more people should. 100%.
Dream Manager program is a great program.
Yeah.
So couple books, Home Service Millionaire. That was the first book. Elevate was the second book. I got a new book coming out here in a few months about ADHD, and it's a superpower. It's not a disease.
It totally is. Thank you for saying that.
You treat kids, you act like they need help and their disabilities, and it's a superpower. And here's the deal. I do shop tours. TommyMello.com is all my social handles. TommyMello.com/shop. If you want to do a shop tour, it's free. I give you some books. I'll show you how we do performance pay, how we do everything. The more people I let in, the more powerful I become because they all share back. We're stronger together. I take one thing from a company with 3 people and I apply it. I see huge, significant gains. I think everybody, big, small, and indifferent, have something to offer. And, my deal is if I could help people, it's hard right now because I've got an obligation to my family, which is A1, and my immediate family, and my niece and nephews. And I got 2 great puppies, and I got Bree, who's amazing. And I got a mom and dad that are 70 that I need to spend time with. I try to be everything for everybody. So my main function right now is to try to get questions answered in a way that I could do it from a platform and answer 100 people's questions.
Yeah.
And it's almost unselfish the way I'm looking at it. You would think it's selfish to not answer every question that comes in through Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. But then I would be rejecting my family. So if I could answer one question for 1,000 people, doesn't that make more sense?
100%.
So I'm here. I'm a tool. You got questions. I might have an answer you like. You don't have to do everything. I learned the hard way. I never took the easy way. Murphy's Law slapped me in the face upside down and silly and punched me a million times. Metaphorically speaking, I got scars and bruises all over. But yeah, listen, the podcast is cool. I've had a lot of cool podcast guests. The books are fun. They're on Audible. If you want to follow me, I'm putting out amazing content, really trying to think about the mindset of an entrepreneur that's going through struggles. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So yeah, that's it. And I do have a newsletter that I'm giving 3 free copies out each month. It's I think it's TommyMello.com/news. And if you don't find it there, just come on Home Service Expert, the Facebook page, and say, I want to get your free newsletters. I just wanted to get the top 3 in the hands of people to see what I'm doing. It cost me $7 per issue to produce it, mail it, and all that. So I'll lose $20, and then if you like it, I make enough to keep my writers. It's all my content.
Mm-hmm.
They put it together in a way that's readable, because I used to be a decent writer. I'm not great. I don't. It's not ghost written. It's all my content. They add pictures and make it nice. And I've got, I'm putting this all out there. I make my money in the garage door industry. I don't make money on speaking.
Yeah.
I don't make money in the books. I don't make money on the newsletter. HSF, I don't make money on. I make money in my core business. Anytime I can learn one thing and apply it to A1, I make a lot of money in A1. And my employees do really good. And I'm not shy about it.
And you shouldn't be. Like, again, it's impressive what you've built and these struggles that you've overcome, including like dealing with, so my significant other has ADHD. So I understand 100% what you're talking about when it talks about a superpower and so many people say it's a disability. It's so incredibly impressed with what you are continuing to build. And I feel like you're probably just getting started, which is the crazy part. I will make sure we've mentioned a lot of podcasts. We've mentioned a lot of books and authors. We've mentioned a lot of links that you have available. We're going to make sure all those things are in the show notes for anyone to kind of go through and click this up. But man, I know you're crazy busy, and I know you being and showing up for people in an impactful way is important. And hell yes, you did this today, man. Thanks for coming on. It was a true pleasure, man.
Hey, thank you. Last piece of advice. The way I learned everything I know is by reading books and listening to guys like Ken Goodrich, Ken Haynes, and I go on and on, Leland Smith. I looked at who had the most private planes. Success leaves clues.
Mm-hmm.
And they let me into their home. They let me into their office. They let me talk to their CFO, their CMO, their COO. They let me talk to their trainers. They let me sit through training courses.
That's right.
And they opened up their heart and their hand for me. And so if you really want to make an impact in your business, if you can't afford to get away, it's the more reason to get away. Get out of your current state. Go travel somewhere far. Take a lot of notes and then go implement. If people didn't open up their doors to me, I wouldn't be here. I'm offering to open up my door to you. You don't have to come to my shop. Ask one of the guys I just mentioned. There's so many great people out there that are willing to help you. All you got to do, my favorite 3 letters. Favorite 3 letters are ASK. My favorite word is arbitrage. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out. And hey, I really, really appreciate the opportunity, seriously, to be on here.
Dude, this is awesome. I like that you called yourself a tool and used the word arbitrage in the sentence, which is the first time it's happened this week. But dude, so great having you on. Thanks so much for taking the time, man. This is a blast.
I appreciate you. We'll stay connected. Thank you very much.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Levergy, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at BlueCollar.CEO and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.